I'm Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Col Baswant, and today I'll be briefing you on the Space Force Capstone, Chapter 5. As an overview, we'll be going over developing the space power enterprise, space power mentality, which includes space warfighters, mastery of space, space power disciplines, and the art of space warfare, which is breadth, depth, and context. We will also be going over leadership, warfighting readiness, mission execution, and agility, innovation, and boldness. Developing space power enterprise. As said in the Space Force capstone, our greatest assets are the men and women, the space professionals, who develop, employ, and advance space power for the nation. Before we start, we'll start off with a few definitions. Operations are to employ weapon systems in accordance with principles of war to gain the advantage on the battlefield. Intelligence is to bind all disciplines by providing foundational, tactical, and operational assessments of potential adversaries and the operating environment, and by rapidly extracting pertinent information for decision making and action. Engineers are the ones who design advanced space systems and support operational planning and execution by identifying or discovering opportunities to optimize system performance. Acquisitions is comprised of the personnel who acquire and the field systems on operationally relevant timeline that meet warfighter requirements and lead turn threats. Cyber is to perform the enduring task of defending and virtually connecting all space activities to ensure space forces can access and leverage the domain across the spectrum of conflict. As stated in the Space Force capstone, the space power mentality permeates the broad space community, encompassing those who research, acquire, test, launch, employ, conduct space intelligence activities, command and control, generate, or sustain military space missions. Space professionals defend the nation's interest through control and exploitation of the space domain. Moving into space warfighters. Space warfighters are the protectors of America's space interest. They are the first and foremost warfighters who protect, defend, and protect U.S. space power. They secure U.S. interests through deterrence and, when necessary, the application of force, and they must commit themselves to two demanding professions: warfighting and mastery of space. Warfighting culture is the defining difference between operating space-based information systems and employing credible military space power. This is very adversary-focused, and we must never let the remote aspects of space operations dilute the solemn moral dimension of warfare. Space mastery is the technical understanding of the physical, network, and cognitive dimensions of space operations. This also includes a predictive understanding of the interests and behaviors of civil, commercial, and foreign space actors. Science is the systematic organization of knowledge based on empirical evidence and falsifiable hypotheses. This is to exploit the physics of the space domain, and it informs our understanding of movement, maneuver, connectivity, remote sensing, and the violent transfer of energy. Art is the application of imagination, creativity, and abstraction. Insight into the human elements of warfare, leadership, operational art, uncertainty, emotion, will to fight, adaptation, and cunning. Now moving into space power disciplines. Military space power is the most effective when operations are conducted through the combined application of all 7 disciplines. This is comprised of orbital warfare, space electromagnetic warfare, space battle management, space access and sustainment, military intelligence, engineering and acquisition, and cyber operations. Now moving into the art of space warfare. It is the art of space warfare that gives science its relevance. Combined, the art and science teach us how to fight and win. Moving into the breadth. The breadth is building an appreciation of the evolution of warfare from its earliest origins to its modern manifestation. It is to understand war's enduring nature while providing insight on how warfare's character will evolve in the future. Now moving into the depth. Depth is understanding the human element of warfare and illuminating how human element influences the course of violent competition. It also better forecasts the pressures of high-intensity conflict will place on their combat responsibilities. It also highlights how luck, timing, and biases impact the course of a military engagement. And lastly, context. Context could be both political and social. It is how civil-military relationships shape and define warfare. The political context is economy, culture, language, ethnic history, psychology, and religion. The social context illuminates an adversary's will to fight. Moving into leadership. Leaders must establish and reinforce the purpose and identity of military space forces. During peacetime, we instill unique vision, ethos, values, and esprit de corps. During conflict, we set objectives, study adversary plans, and provide direction to forces. As a leader, we have two key responsibilities: warfighting readiness and mission execution. Leaders must be intimately familiar with the strengths, weaknesses, and organizational climate of the forces under their corps. Warfighting readiness is the ability of military forces to accomplish assigned mission within acceptable risk. This readiness hinges on warfighters who are physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared to execute their mission. Resiliency is an individual's capability to recover from hardship or difficulties. Caring for subordinates and accomplishing the mission are one and the same. Strengthening resiliency has a direct impact on the lethality and effectiveness of a warfighting unit. Moving into mission execution. Every space leader must be able to make sense of complex scenarios and be capable of distilling complexity into clarity from a remote location. Look towards the aftermath of a conflict and properly consider long-term strategic or political impacts of any one engagement or action they may take. Tactical level leaders, officer and enlisted, require a combination of situational awareness, technical mastery, and critical thinking, agility, innovation, and boldness. As a lean and mission-focused digital service, the USSF must exemplify these traits by relentlessly pursuing new ideas, taking calculated risks, and rapidly learning from failure. As a summary, we went over developing spacefire enterprise, the spacefire mentality, which comprised of space warfighters, mastery of space, space power disciplines, and the art of space warfare, particularly the breadth, depth, and context, and leadership comprised of warfighting readiness and mission execution. Please feel free to email any of us here at Purdue University Space Team, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.